The moment I looked up from the control panel, I froze. Her eyes, violet, luminous, impossible, pierced through the thin glass separating us. The airlock hissed softly, yet in that silence, her voice reached me as though it had always been inside my head. "So, you like my body?" I couldn't speak. I shouldn't have understood her question. And yet, her tone was more than curiosity. It was challenge, intrigue, a dangerous game I wasn't prepared to play. My hands, slick with sweat, hovered over the console, unsure whether to press the emergency lockdown or step forward. But that was only the beginning. The ship had been drifting for months, abandoned, or so we thought, beyond the edge of the Sol system. The distress signal was faint, corrupted by radiation, but it was there. My crew and I had followed it out here, thinking it might be a derelict human vessel. Instead, we found her. She moved with a grace that seemed to defy gravity, her elongated limbs stretching across the chamber, eyes scanning every inch of the damaged interior like she owned it. Her skin shimmered with a pearlescent glow, shifting color subtly with every thought I imagined flickered across her mind. I remembered the protocols drilled into me. Stay professional, maintain distance, do not engage. But none of those protocols accounted for this. "What are you?" I whispered, barely audible over the hum of the ship's dying engines. "I am what you need to see," she replied, stepping closer, her reflection doubling in the cracked metal panels of the chamber. "And perhaps what you fear most." A tremor ran through me, half fear, half something I couldn't name. The air in the ship felt thicker, heavier, charged with energy I couldn't measure. Instruments spun wildly, lights flickering as if acknowledging her presence. But that was only the beginning. As I followed her through the corridors, every step seemed to echo in a rhythm not my own. Her body, flawless, ethereal, shouldn't have had this effect on me. I knew that. My rational mind screamed warnings about alien seduction protocols, about biological traps, about mental manipulation. But somewhere deep inside, curiosity won. "What do you want from us?" I asked. She stopped abruptly, turning so close that I could see the flicker of galaxies in her eyes. "From you? Or from your species?" The question caught me off guard. Before I could respond, the lights above us flickered violently, throwing the corridor into shadows. A sudden jolt rocked the ship, and I stumbled. Alarms screamed in the background, but she remained perfectly composed, serene, untouchable. "Your species is fragile," she said quietly, almost tenderly, as if she were explaining a child's mistake to itself. "You crave, you destroy, you imagine. But there is something inside you. Something that makes you dangerous. And fascinating." Her words echoed in my mind long after we stopped walking. I felt the tug of something primal, a mix of fear, desire, and an unnameable recognition. And yet, I didn't know if she meant danger to me, to her, or to the entire universe. But that was only the beginning. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time had lost its meaning in this drifting labyrinth of metal and plasma. She guided me to a room I had initially assumed was the bridge. But it wasn't. It was alive. Holographic constellations hovered in the air, planets spinning slowly in perfect, unnatural orbits. Screens showed simulations of worlds I had never heard of, civilizations that never should have existed. "This is where we decide," she said, moving to the center of the room. Her body, lit by starlight projected from the holograms, seemed to hum with power. "Not just your fate, human. The fate of many. You are part of a choice now." I swallowed hard. "Choice? What do you mean?" She leaned close, so close I could feel her warmth despite the sterile, cold environment. "I could leave you here, floating alone, a fossil in space. Or I could teach you what it means to wield influence you can't yet comprehend." I took a step back, my mind spinning. What was she offering? Knowledge? Power? Survival? Or something far more dangerous? But that was only the beginning. As the hours unfolded, I realized she was testing me. My reactions, my courage, my morality. Every choice I made seemed to ripple through the ship. Doors I hadn't touched opened, compartments shifted, and lights reacted to my emotions. She didn't touch a single button. She didn't need to. This ship, this ancient vessel, was her body's extension, her mind's playground. "You fear me," she said finally, her smile now tinged with amusement. "And yet you are drawn to me. Why?" I hesitated. How do you answer that without sounding foolish? Without admitting that some part of you is curious, captivated, perhaps even in love with a being whose nature you don't even understand? I don't know, I admitted. Her laughter was soft, melodic, vibrating through the metal corridors. Ah, honesty. Rare, dangerous, and delightful. Then, without warning, the room changed. The constellations warped, the planets colliding in slow-motion chaos. My heart raced. What is happening? She walked among the collapsing worlds, unbothered. You must see the consequences of desire, she said. The choices humans make when they chase what they cannot understand. I watched civilizations fall in simulated devastation. I felt something inside me shatter. A mix of guilt, fascination, and awe. How fragile we were, and how easily we could destroy what we loved without even realizing it. But that was only the beginning. Then came the turning point. She extended her hand, and a small glowing sphere appeared between us. Images flickered inside. My home, my family, my life before the void of space had swallowed me. Everything you know, everything you care for, is now visible to me, she said. And I must decide if it continues. My chest tightened. You can't do that. You don't understand. These are people. Her eyes softened, just slightly. I understand more than you think. More than you can imagine. But do you understand me, human? Do you understand what it is to be beyond choice, beyond morality, beyond mortality? The weight of her question crushed me. I had thought I understood sacrifice, love, loyalty. But in her presence, all that knowledge seemed laughably small. I wanted to argue, to resist, but even my will felt like a toy in her grasp. Then, she smiled again, that impossible smile, and it struck me like a physical blow. You will answer me, she whispered. Not in words but in action. I had no choice. Not really. The sphere pulsed in my hands, burning lightly, forcing me to decide. Preserve my past, or embrace a future that might make me something I could not yet recognize. I made my choice. The room dissolved around me. Stars, void, metal corridors, they all vanished, replaced by a serene alien landscape. Mountains of crystal shimmered in the soft light of 3 suns, rivers of liquid silver winding through the valleys. She stood beside me, taller than before, her body glowing faintly as if the planet itself recognized her presence. You chose wisely, she said, her voice both a caress and a command. And yet, your journey is only beginning. What happens now? I asked, my voice trembling. Her eyes softened again, and for the first time, I saw vulnerability. Now, you learn. You adapt. You see what it truly means to coexist with beings who do not follow your rules. You will struggle. You will fail. And perhaps, you will succeed. I nodded, though the weight of the unknown pressed against my chest. And then, she did something I had not expected. She touched my cheek lightly, a single finger tracing my jawline, and whispered, You are mine to shape, human. But I am yours to challenge. Never forget that. The sun rose behind the crystal mountains, casting long shadows that danced across the silver rivers. I looked at her, this alien woman, this impossible being, and felt a mixture of fear, awe, and an unfamiliar warmth. I realized then that the universe had grown larger in a single heartbeat. My perspective, my understanding, my very soul had been irrevocably altered. I didn't know if I would survive what came next. I didn't know if I would remain human in any sense that mattered. But I understood one thing with absolute clarity. The galaxy was no longer mine to command. And she, this extraordinary, dangerous, intoxicating alien, was no longer just a vision in the void. She was a force, a presence, a challenge that I would carry with me until the end of time. And as she turned, her violet eyes locking with mine, a slow, knowing smile spreading across her face, I realized I didn't need to understand her entirely to be captivated. Some mysteries, I understood, were meant to be felt, lived, and survived. And in that instant, I knew. My life, and everything I thought I knew about love, fear, and power, would never be the same again. So, you like my body? She asked one final time, voice soft, teasing, electric. And I answered, not with words, but with a certainty that trembled through every fiber of my being. Yes. The stars above whispered their approval, and the void around us seemed, for the first time, alive. The choice had been made. And yet, this was only the beginning.